What up, y'all, and welcome to Daytona International Speedway for the 2023 FBRL Napa Truck Series Daytona 250. On pole for the first time in his Napa Truck Series career is Griffin Lapel McDermott, driving for Single C Racing. He's got AJ Jones to his outside, Glenn Mixon and 2021 champion Luke Martin in row 2, followed by Brett Houck and Nelson Reeves in row 3. Your defending champ Jordan Fisher is in row 4 with William Brock, and rounding out the top 10, you've got rookie Michael Miller in the 87 with the 8 Breeding Enterprises truck of Hannah Allen. You see names such as Lane Sanders in the field, Ace Wild, Nick Breeding in that pink 55. This is a star-studded Napa Truck Series lineup for the first ever Daytona 250. The last 2 seasons, it's been a 200-miler event. So with 250 miles here tonight, we're adding 20 laps to the race length. With that in mind, the trucks have been given bigger fuel tanks this year. We're expecting a fuel mileage of about 40 to 43 laps. As you see other big names such as Malik Nevins, Bradley Bishop Jr. making the drop to the Napa Truck Series this season towards the rear of the field, and making the race on provisionals this time around, Alexa Lushon, Jeff Bolton, Shade Eves, and Justin Johnson. Big name that did not qualify for this race, the 10 driven by Ryan Griffin for Crossroads Racing. It's sure to be an action-packed race, and as always, the top side will slowly come in as we get towards the end of a tie run. Let's go trackside for the command to fire engines.
Drivers, start your engines.
As with every prestigious event, such as the Sony Cup Series Daytona 500, Brickyard 400, etc., there were some pretty big names that did not qualify for tonight's Napa Truck Series Daytona 250. You'll see those names scroll across the top of the screen as always, but just to highlight a few, 2020 Hardee's National Series champion Anthony Marchese in the 83 for the part-time Red Bull entry, Austin Miller in the 77 for Freeze Racing Team, and especially the 10 of Ryan Griffin as highlighted on the starting grid. Jeff James for the part-time 04 truck of Nova Sport. Kyle Springer driving the 20 for TJ Smith Incorporated. And of course, a Hardee's National Series winner out of Aria Carmona in the 45 for TJI. So a lot of big names, decent names missing this race. And then, of course, not so well-known names, rookie drivers such as Ryan Soper, Mac Johnson, Miles Mashburn, and the list goes on. But there are 42 drivers here tonight on this racetrack for 100 laps of action. Once again, the fuel mileage, 40 to 43 laps. It's Griffin Lapel McDermott for Single C Racing getting his first career pole. And it's also Honda's first pole in their first Napa Truck Series race. So quite the interesting accomplishment. We know Mercedes is on pole in Hardee's, and Dodge is on pole in Sony Cup. Green flag is out, and we are underway at the lights here in Daytona. As with every first race back in a new year, there is going to be some bloopers. As you could already tell by me saying at the lights, under the lights here at Daytona. We don't usually leave the overlay up, but just to give you guys an idea of how fast these trucks are going, we're going to have it up here for the first lap or two. See 195 mile an hour into turn 3 from the 84. In qualifying, the Napa Truck Series trucks were the fastest out of everyone in qualifying speed weeks, as they were hitting speeds of up to 192 miles an hour by themselves. I think the Sony Cup Series cars hit maybe 188, 189, and then the Hardee's cars weren't really topping up over 185. So you can see here in the pack, though, everyone's going to be up to this number there at the top of your screen, 200 miles an hour. I'm not sure if the Napa trucks are going to be the fastest, but we are going to see these trucks hitting speeds of up to 205, 206 miles an hour, especially here at the back of the pack. With that said, we'll take the overlay away and we'll focus on the action. You can see Pedro Evo Lucas here at the back of the field with Justin Johnson trailing behind them. Not sure if this is strategy to just watch the pack as it develops, but they are going to be on the edge of the draft wake here, and it's especially true here with this new package, or well, similar package to last year that was with a different truck body. If you don't have someone behind you, it is kind of hard to keep up in the draft. You almost kind of need a push in the air from the truck behind you to maintain connection to the truck in front of you. And you can especially see that right now with Justin Johnson. But to the front of the field we'll go. It's 3 wide for the race lead. Ricky Freeman Jr. on the inside line with Gatlin Downey and Ben McDonald on the outside of that 92. Those are teammate trucks there in the 13 and the 76. North Border Motorsports only running 1 truck full-time this season once again, and just 1 truck part-time due to the new rules in the Napa Truck Series. You can no longer field 2 part-time entries, and we no longer have one-off entries. Due to a recent influx in lack of drivers, however, some teams have been given waivers to try to run full-time, but if they can't run completely full-time, 17 race attempts will do, 19 race attempts will do, etc. As you see Ace Wild in that EA Sports Ram truck going to the race lead here on lap number 4. He's got Randy Riggs Jr. in the 35, a manufacturer alliance teammate there. Well, not alliance, but manufacturer teammate to say. As Blake Warren on the inside of him now, as Wild will start to fade back here, as the top side just really isn't the place to be at the beginning of a run when the tires are fresh. The bottom and the middle are the way to go. As Austin Rogers goes to the point here on lap 7, the field is bunched up, packed up 3 wide all the way through the field. Pedro Evo Lucas, Justin Johnson no longer clinging to the draft, and you can see on the leaderboard the 42nd place truck is within 1 second of the race leader. That inside line is still superior. You can see Ryan Dagby has driven his way to the front, as has Aiden Smith, Malik Nevins, Alexa Lushon, and the aforementioned Lucas and Justin Johnson. So starting position really didn't matter here tonight except for your pit stall, which we found that in super speedway races such as Daytona and Talladega, having the first pit stall is not a benefit really, because you're not going pit speed when you get out of the pits, and that momentum can be huge to getting up to speed on the racetrack. One advantage though of being at the front of the field here at Daytona when it comes to pit stops is you want to be in the first 3 or 4 trucks hitting pit road, because after that you have to check up more because of the trucks checking up in front of you. And I think I see some 4 wide in the back. It might have been a flash for a moment. I thought I saw that 55 of Nick Breeding caught up in the middle 4 wide, but it has settled out and they are back to 3 wide as Lucas takes the race lead. We are having a ton of lead changes here tonight, and with the longer race, it could be a candidate to break some potential records in Napa Truck Series history. As you see Jeff Bolton, who got a top 10 here last season with Genesis Engineering, now driving the 25 for S3 Motorsports. That's the head team in the S3 Technical Alliance. And looking at the record here, we actually set the record last season. Most lead changes in a race, with 40 lead changes in the Daytona 200 last year. However, the most leaders we've ever had in a race, 17 different drivers back at Talladega in 2020. And going to the race lead now is a truck driving for a team that has dominated the season opening races. It's the 88 of Bradley Bishop Jr. in the lead right now. BBJ is a rookie this season in the Napa Truck Series, dropping down from the Hardee's National Series. Very well accomplished driver in Hardee's, 10-plus career wins in that series. One win here in the Napa Truck Series, which came in his lone start last year at Road 1. Back to the point of Breeding Enterprises and season opening races. The last 2 seasons, the Daytona 200 was won by a Breeding Enterprises truck. In 2021, it was driven by the 8, Blake Warren driving the 8 rather. And in 2022, last season, the 48, driven by Malik Nevins, you see in that YouTube truck there on the outside line. And then if you go back to the 2019 season opener, when this was the Napa Pro Series, Nick Breeding himself drove his 88 car to victory lane at Talladega in a fuel mileage win. The only season opening race not won by a Breeding Enterprises car or truck was in 2020. Eric the Max won for the number 4 team of Onge Auto. So we see Shade Eves in the 39 for Revolution Racing. Now, Revolution was a Toyota team last season. They had no support. They were trying to get support all year. They never got anything. Right at the end of the offseason, they got a deal to be a technical alliance partner with Team Velocity and Martin Motorsports, who are in a partnership. More so, just Team Velocity was going to be helping out this team. And with Jack Halleck's departure from the 99 truck, the 99 team ended up just going straight to this team. So now Revolution Racing finds themselves with a top team with a potential to maybe win some races this season due to the drivers that are going to be in this truck. From Shade Eves to Peter Onjak, Vince Freeze, and even Dom Capps. But Daytona is known as the equalizer of sorts, and you can see that as the inside line just continues to move forward. And now we see Josh Crash in the 62 truck, who hasn't been in an FBRL ride for about 2 years now. Landed this opportunity with Single C Racing after some other drivers left that stable over the off season. But he will go up to the outside line, and now Lane Sanders and Jacques Anderson, who's now driving that championship-winning 4 truck out of Onge Auto, they are now at the front of the field. And we are 4 wide at the front of the field. This could be a wreck causer if they can't hold on to this thing. They were 4 wide for a brief moment for the lead there. Now they're 4 wide for it again. Lane Sanders gets backed up on the top. Jacques Anderson is clear of the 4 wide. Now he is in it once again. As you can see, Bob Burns, Nick Breeding, Tib Foster all in this sandwich right now. And they are really cutting it close here. Breeding trying to find a way to clear behind the 70. Couldn't do it. Now he's back to the 70s inside. Tib Foster off of turn 4 is usually where things get tight. Hannah Allen with a little scruff against the wall. That might allow Burns to get enough of a run to clear, and it does indeed. And the 4 wide situation has dissolved as William Brock takes the race lead. As the inside line continues to be the preferred way to go, you see Ricky Freeman Jr., Glenn Mixon, Griffin Lapel McDermott, Jordan Fisher, and others back up towards the front of the field. As they have gone to the bottom, up to the top, all the way to the back, and then right back down to the bottom. Seeing Glenn Mixon getting some really good runs here on the outside line there off of turn 4, just completely clears the trucks to his inside. And halfway through this fuel run, you're really starting to see the tires start to play a factor. As the inside line not able to hold as much speed there on the bottom compared to the trucks riding the top. And when the tires wear, man, that outside line, it really does become smooth. Much smoother than the inside line. But you can see the inside still able to make some moves here with the runs they are getting from the trucks in front of them, as now Blake Warren is on the inside of Ben McDonald and Griffin Lapel McDermott, as Mixon continues to hold on to the race lead. He's been getting some pretty good runs off of turn 4 especially, as this is the point in the race where you could potentially see the field start to gridlock and you just really have nowhere to go. You are stuck behind the truck in front of you who's getting the runs or trying to get a run. And you can see Blake Warren just has nothing on that inside line right now. And the only way you could maybe move forward is maybe a 4-wide force, as Nelson Reeves thought about it there for a second. And after leading a couple of laps, Mixon will lose the lead to Ben McDonald. Taking a look at the fast laps on the race, they're all draft laps, so it just kind of really tells you who has a good truck in the draft. And it's kind of shocking to see who's at the top of this board. You've got Ryan Dagby, Carson Clevenger, and Jeff Bolton first, second, and third. That's an S3 Motorsports sweep in the draft after they had a terrible qualifying effort. And you also got Aiden Smith there in fourth, and that's 4 Chevys at the top of the draft charts after a terrible practice and qualifying effort. But what's really impressing me right now is this 38 of Glenn Mixon. We knew coming into the weekend, based on the results, we saw that Ford and especially Coyote Autosport were going to be strong here at Daytona due to the wind tunnel time and data they've spent over the off season. And this 38 truck seems to be the most trimmed out of the 3. Not sure if that's just due to the timing of when the 38 got back to the front, but he has been up front, either leading the top or the middle line now for about the last 7 laps. And what he really wants to do is he really has to watch his mirror. He wants to be able to stay at the front of the field here as pit stops loom closer, lap after lap, tick, tick, tick. Once you get to lap 40, we're probably going to see some drivers start heading down pit road. And Glenn Mixon is going to want to be leading a line into the pits versus being 6 car on back. One of the biggest stories in the offseason was the departure of Jordan Fisher from Onjato, announced pretty early into the silly season, and for Napa that was pretty much August, that Fisher said he would not be returning to the 4 of Onjato and would be going to Martin Motorsports. Jacques Anderson was tapped to fill the ride, and now he is in the wall. Lane Sanders all over his back bumper. Nick Breeding, it looks like, was maybe in the wall there as well, and that has separated the back half of the pack. You can see McKinney, Sanders, Tip Foster, Josh Crash, Justin Johnson alongside the 4 and the 55 that were hurt or held up from that little incident, and they are very lucky that that did not cause an accident and bring out a caution. As you can see, the 4, 08, and 55 are all going to file in line. Now, the Toyotas have a very good alliance going on this year. With the exception of North Border Motorsports, Onjato is helping out pretty much everybody in the Toyota garage. Morris Motorsports 55 team, Easy Racing 08 team, and Volunteer Motorsports 94 team. So you can see the 08 55 filing in line behind the 4. That is a Technical Alliance teammate by definition. And they will work their way here back up towards the pack as Jacques gets a pretty good run here and will send Lane Sanders to the outside line and potentially the back of the field. Not sure if the 17 got in the wall, but he is falling backwards away from the pack. And so close to pit stops too. Not what you want to see. Especially not for Lane Sanders here, who did not want to see this. I'm very surprised this truck has lost touch of the pack. I really don't understand it, other than it could be a byproduct of the package, to where if you don't have someone pushing you, it can be hard to stay in the draft despite being right up behind someone's bumper for a truck that's in front of you. But Sanders way back here now in no man's land, as even Tib Foster appears to be maybe having some issues keeping up with the pack, but he is pretty close. I think he will be okay, especially with the checkups I'm seeing going on with the inside line, as right now leading the field is the 13, 84, and the 19, driven by Nelson Reeves there in that Raise Energy Mitsubishi. Quite the move over the offseason for Nelson to go from Crossroads Racing to Team Velocity after spending a year and a half with the Chevy team. Nelson, once again, as we've stated in prior races and videos, he was part-time in 2021, full-time last season, but did not have the best of years. Nelson finished it out 42nd in driver points last year, making just 13 of the 22 races on the calendar. But Nelson in a good spot here, qualified inside the top 10 and is currently running inside the top 10 as pit stops loom. He's going to want to do his best here to keep his outside line moving so that he can be one of the first ones on to pit road. As JD Martin and Randy Riggs Jr. are now side by side at the front of the field, there's the 4 of Jacques Anderson and the 08 of Justin Johnson back up to the front after being at the back of the pack and almost losing the draft just about 5 laps ago. Toby Christie will clear JD Martin for the race lead. Alexa Luchon going towards the front of the field as Blaze McKinney's going to move up and make it 4 wide. Jacques Anderson on his inside. They made it work last time. Will they make it work again? No, there's contact. They're in the wall. 27's around, 44, 35. They're all spinning. There are trucks everywhere. William Brock hard into the 44. Blaze McKinney. Ace Wild, Malik Nevins, last year's winner, Mixon in the grass. Trucks everywhere here. Carson Clevenger, Josh Crash. It's the huge one at Daytona. Oh, and there's more smoke up ahead. Jacques Anderson has spun it around. Pace truck is out on the back straightaway here on lap 38. Oh, and this is where things get dicey. McDonald is stopping. Oh, Randy Riggs Jr. is going to get into a more contact. Nelson Reeves, Roberto Crown Jr., Shade Eves will get into the back of Brett Houck. They are scattering. Jacques Anderson is the race leader. Oh, Al Bunch just slammed into the back of Dewey Schramm III. Griffin Label McDermott's going to get a piece of them. They're still piling in. That was TJ Smith in the McKinney, in the Ricky Freeman Jr. Now Lane Sanders into Christie, Nevins into Sanders. Pedro gives the 89 a tap. Siemba in the Luke Martin. Glenn Mixon with more damage. Dagby is smoking. Gatlin Downey is done. JD Martin in pit road already going back out on the racetrack as everyone will come down to pit road here. No, wait a minute. Someone's staying out. Jordan Fisher is going to stay out. This is a very interesting call. I'm not sure if he's going to pit next time by and just top it off, because if it goes green from here, I think the field's like, yeah, 2/3 of us have damage now. I think it's going to be tough to cause another incident for sure. It's still possible, definitely, if they go 4 wide again, but I'm not sure why Jordan Fisher chose to stay out here. Everyone else came down pit road. And a very curious call, to say the least, as it looks like the 56 of Clevenger is out of gas and we'll have to limp it back to pit road. Let's take another look at what caused this accident to occur. You saw McKinney and JD Martin in the middle, 4 wide. McKinney's got a nose on the 27. And then as they come up off of turn 4, just gets kind of tight on McKinney, and JD gets just maybe a ½ an inch down. And around they all go. Toby, Chris, you can see trucks in the air. Ben McDonald gets sent down, and then behind them, they just kind of stack up. Michael Miller got turned by Hannah Allen there in the back, and everyone just turns down. You can see Downey going around. McDonald gets turned all the way down towards pit road by AJ Jones. And you can see William Brock kind of gets clipped by Ryan Dabby, and that sends him up the track in the Blaze McKinney. You see Ricky Freeman getting into Josh Crash. Luke Martin is spinning out back there. Bob Burns, Edward Siemba. I think a better list would be who wasn't in this crash. Oh, and then Michael Miller and Dewey Schramm getting the Clevenger in the grass after he's already been spun. And that just further implicated that crash. And what happened up ahead? Oh, Jock Anderson is spinning out. What happened here? He took the caution as the race leader. 3 wide with Justin Johnson and Alexa Luchon. And as they come out of the tri-oval, oh, it just swings left on him. And he starts swerving it here. I'm hearing the 4 had a tire go down. He gets down into Justin Johnson and goes right up the track into Alexa Luchon. Bradley Bishop Jr. gets a little tap from this. And now Anderson is around in front of Nick Breeding. And Breeding is just going to miss the 4 truck here. You can see Jordan Fisher, AJ Jones. Those are the next 2 coming through as everyone else was stopped pretty much at the back. Fisher barely going to miss the 4. And then AJ Jones turns back to the right at the last second. But wow. The huge one at Daytona, I think that's the biggest crash we've seen since Talladega last year. And we've got a ton of onboards to take here for this one. We'll start you off with your 2022 champion, Jordan Fisher. See how he made it through this one. Oh, and he got tapped about once or twice there, so involved was the 6 of Jordan Fisher. And oh man, AJ Jones almost came off the grass right back up into him. And then Fisher is going to see his old ride coming down the track towards him, just gets by. And man, that was dicey, but Fisher currently, first time by on pit road, has elected to stay out. On board with the number 1, driven by William Brock. It was also on the inside line here. You're going to see them all moving around in front of him. Just gets into Dagby there, and then it gets sent right up into the 44 of Blaze McKinney. Nowhere to go. 5's going to slide into him here once again. And then Brock gets beached here on the apron. So a tough break for William Brock. We'll be curious to see if he elects to continue. On board with last year's Daytona 200 winner, Malik Nevins. Check out his view of this incident. On the brakes, and then a little tap there from Dagby, still on the brakes. Ooh, gets sideswiped there by someone and then just starts getting into people. Did a real good job there at the beginning of the wreck, but ultimately became a participant. Next, we're on board with Blake Warren, your 2021 Daytona 200 winner. You can see he had just nowhere to go. Gets in the 12 of Bradley Ream up into the outside wall. You can see Nelson Reeves with a piece there into the outside wall. Truck sliding up the track from the grass. Warren mostly unscathed, but does get some dents and bruises from that accident. On board the 55 of Nick Breeding. Here's his POV of that one. A little tap there, and then through the accident, he was good to go. Was lucky to be at the front of the field on the inside line. And then he sees the 4 blow a tire there, and he's just barely gonna get on the brakes and miss the 4 there, spinning down the track. So a lucky break for Nick Breeding. He's still in this one. On board with your pole sitter, Griffin Lepo McDermott. He was in the middle of the field, right behind Malik Nevins. You can see he just starts getting bodied immediately as the wreck occurs in front of him. Oh, and some quick thinking there to move up the track and avoid becoming more involved in the accident. And then you see everyone is racing back to the start-finish line right there for the caution, and that's when everything starts getting really spread out, and we saw those checkups occur on the back straightaway. Last onboard will be with your 2021 champion, Luke Martin. See as the wreck unfolds in front of him, and then he just gets bodied down the track and spun around. So involved in the huge one here tonight was the 28 of Luke Martin. We're getting set to go back racing here after a hefty cleanup. It'll be 41 laps complete with 59 laps to go. Jordan Fisher's team did not bring him down pit road, but we're expecting to see the 6 truck pit within 1 to 2 laps of the restart. So a curious pit strategy here, just trying to extend the fuel tank all the way, because if this race does go green from here on out, taking the least amount of fuel is going to be crucial to a potential of winning this race. But likely what the 6 team will need here is, after they pit here under green, they're gonna want a quick yellow and be in position for the raise up recipient to get their lap back. Out of the race though from that accident, the 1 of William Brock, the 5 of Ryan Dagby, Malik Nevins, last year's winner, Toby Christie, TJ Smith, Randy Riggs Jr., Glenn Mixon, who looked pretty speedy early on, Josh Crash, Michael Miller, Al Bunch, Dewey Schramm III. Those are the 11 drivers all done here tonight. Carson Clevenger is a lap down. And then we have 30 trucks on the lead lap. And I'll be honest with y'all, I pretty much was able to get a good list of who wasn't involved in that accident to any capacity. Justin Johnson was one of them. Shade Eves did a great job missing the wreck at the back of the field. You can see him towards the front now. Same can be said for Roberto Crown Jr. in the 57. He did get involved in the stack up there, though, on the back straightaway. As Jordan Fisher, yep, first lap after the restart is going to hit pit road. That'll give the lead to Nick Breeding. Brett Houck also was pretty safe through the wreck, but then I believe also got involved in an accident on the back straightaway. So pretty much, I think almost every truck in the field has some form of slight body damage. That was the definition of the huge one there. The whole field was involved in the accident to some extent, whether it was on the front straightaway, going into the tri-oval, coming out of the tri-oval with the 4 and the 3 incident, or on the back straightaway when they were catching up on their pacing. Shade Eves will go to the point. Scatlin Downey towards the front of the field. Downey is going to come to pit road here for some reason. He had some damage from the accident. Not sure why he is pitting again here. But apparently they do not have everything fixed that they would like to. And you can see from being involved on the back straightaway incident, Roberto Crown Jr., Brett Houck are trailing the main pack. And this appears to be the extent of who is going to be up here, as you see Jordan Fisher come out of pit road. Clevenger, as stated already, is a lap down. You've got Nelson Reeves, J.D. Martin up here. Lane Sanders is up here right now. He was all the way at the back of the field, so he really lucked out. Bradley Ream, Alexa Lushon, Bob Burns, Hannah Allen, Tib Foster, Griffin Label McDermott, Edward Siemba, Ben McDonald, Blake Warren, Luke Martin, Justin Johnson, Bradley Bishop Jr., A.J. Jones, Nick Breeding, and Shade Eves. So right now, those are the 18 drivers up here with a shot to win this race. And then you've got Clevenger, Jordan Fisher, and now Gatlin Downey a lap down. But from what I'm seeing right now, it looks like the pack is splitting up, because Chip Foster is not holding on enough. Nelson Reeves has a good run. Lushon, Bradley Ream, they are all not able to hit 200 miles an hour right now. And I think these drivers are going to lose touch with the draft. That's especially true, I think, for J.D. Martin, Carson Clevenger, Gatlin Downey, and Jordan Fisher. They're up to speed right now, and they're going to have to go if they want to stay in position here to have a good shot at getting back on the lead lap. Lane Sanders, you can see, is trying to pass Bradley Ream, and that is kind of hurting them, as Alexa Lushon, Tib Foster, they're hitting 203, but they are having to do everything they can to stay with the lead pack. And as the field continues to spread out, we've gotten word that a couple of drivers were parked for not maintaining minimum speed. They were the 4 of Jacques Anderson and the 11 of Pedro Ivo Lucas. Probably the 2 names hardest to pronounce this season in the Napa Truck Series. That'll leave us with 29 trucks on the racetrack and 26 on the lead lap, as it looks like it is a 13, maybe 14 truck lead pack here, currently fighting for the race lead, as Luke Martin and Bradley Bishop Jr., who fought for a Hardee's National Series title last season and came up short, are side by side for the race lead. As we hit the halfway point here of this year's Daytona 250, just want to look at the fast lap sheet, because I don't think anyone's going to set a fast lap now with the field so spread out. And it looks like Jacques Anderson was able to top the chart right before that big accident. Josh Crash, Justin Johnson also now top 3 over Dagby, Clevenger, Nick Breeding, Jeff Bolton, Aiden Smith, Shade Eves, and Bradley Bishop Jr. So they're 3 wide right now for the race lead. We've got 15 trucks total, 15 in this main pack. Tib Foster recently just lost the draft a lap ago. You can see him there back at the picture. But it was Bradley Bishop Jr., Shade Eves, and Nick Breeding 3 wide into turn 1. So let's look at the drivers we've got here in this pack. Currently leading the field, Bradley Bishop Jr. and Nick Breeding. Breeding, your 2022 Hardee's National Series champion, with his breakout season there in that series. Once again, full-time for Rodriguez Racing in HNS. Bradley Bishop Jr., one of those drivers who dropped down after being with Allen Family Racing Team for several seasons to drive for Breeding Enterprises here in the Napa Truck Series. Looking to springboard himself back up the Hardee's after just one season down here. Just trying to bolster his market worth in the FBRL. But BBJ, known as one of the best Hardee's drivers in the game, and we'll see him in the Hardee's this year on a part-time basis with Joseph Strictly Racing. But he'll be down here racing for a championship with Breeding Enterprises, who won the title in 2021 with Luke Martin. As you see Martin there in the middle of a 3-wide situation, driving to 28 for Silver Fox Motorsports this year. What a year Silver Fox had last season. They missed a handful of races with both of their drivers. Bobby Jones missing the first 2 races. Blake Warren also missing the first 2 races. And then Warren went on to miss one other race at some point in the beginning of the season. However, that didn't stop that team from getting better. Bobby Jones, 3rd in the points, 6 top 5s, 12 top 10s, 3 poles. Blake Warren ended the year on a huge hot streak, 21st in the points, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and he had that great run at Michigan. You can see Blake Warren here in the lead pack, now driving for Sulky Performance, the 3rd Mercedes team now in the Mercedes Alliance, with Flipside Motorsports' departure from the Napa Truck Series at season's end last year. AJ Jones is up here. Ford and Coyote Autosport were dominant to end the season. Coyote won the last 2 races of the year. One from AJ Jones at Papyrus, and one from William Brock at the Dodge Motordrome. You can see Gatlin Downey and Jordan Fisher side by side there. They are both a lap down, racing for the potential race up award as they catch another lap truck. Actually, several trucks to be lapped here. Alexa Luchon, Austin Rogers, Blaze McKinney, and Ricky Freeman Jr. They are all making minimum speed, doing about 188 to 190 miles an hour, as the pack is going to get into them here and put them a lap down. They're going to go 3 wide. That's going to block the field outright. Let's continue going through our front runners here in the top 13. You've got the 70, driven once again this year by Bob Burns, still looking for that first career win. I think his chances have increased once again this season. He finished 7th in the points last year with 4 top 5s and 7 top 10s. You can see his teammate Edward Siemba at the back of this field. Siemba won 2 races in 2022, first year back in the Napa Truck Series. He won at Denver early on, and then at Springfield, which Anjato has been dominant at these last 2 seasons now. You can see the 13 driven by Ben McDonnell for North Border Motorsports is held up right now by Ricky Freeman Jr. and Austin Rogers as he'll drop to the back of the field. McDonnell, not much to talk about. He's an FBRL rookie driving here in the Napa Truck Series. He's the 4th different driver in this 13 truck over several seasons now for North Border Motorsports in the FBRL. We'll be curious to see if McDonnell has a successful tenure in the Napa Truck Series. Will he stay with this team in a year? Will he go somewhere else? I mean, you really don't know. But one thing's for sure is the drivers that come into this truck don't tend to stay in the truck. McDonnell could change that, but it's the first race of the season, so not much worth spending continuing to talk about that. As we continue to look at the drivers in this pack, I believe we have 2 left as Ace Wild and Jeff Bolton are now a lap down as well. You've got Justin Johnson here in the 08 for Easy Racing. Easy Racing had a very tough season last year. DeBrickashaw Davis III and Hans Musler were driving the 08 and 26. Both of those drivers were out of the truck by mid-season, and a new driver was found for the 08, but they did not make any races. Now with a tighter technical alliance with Anj Auto and running just one truck, 08 team is in a pretty good spot here to open the season, especially with something we haven't touched on all race. Only the top 20 trucks will get points this season in the Napa Truck Series. Another thing that changed too, and actually we'll get to that in a second here, is we've got one last truck to talk about, and that is the 84. Actually, we've got 2 trucks here. The 84 Griffin Maple McDermott, and then the 8 of Hannah Allen. Hannah Allen, now a Sony Cup Series driver in the FBRL, has had an interesting career path to say the least. She is up here with a chance to win, and she has won in the Napa Truck Series before, back at Talladega in 2020. That was driving for North Border Motorsports. It's a curious statistic about NBM. They've got to win in the Napa Truck Series, but it came with Ram back in 2020. And then lastly, you've got the 84 of Griffin Lapel McDermott, who got his first career pole and is pretty much just here to try and get that elusive win that he did not get in his past couple seasons in the Napa Truck Series. Last year was a bit of a disappointment to GLM. He finished 31st in driver points with just 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s. It was a down year for Chevy overall. And now that brings me to what I was going to talk about. New for this year as well, Sony Cup Series drivers and Hardee's National Series drivers, those that are full-time in those respective series, will not earn any points this year in Napa Truck Series competition. Now, what that means is that the driver, him or herself, does not earn points to the driver standings. However, the teams will still get points for the Owners' Championship, so that'll make the Owners' title battle very competitive. But the reason for this was that, there were some drivers and teams that weren't sure if they wanted to see someone who had only run 2 races out of the 6 and in the top 10 in the point standings because of the top 20 point system. So with this in place, you will see all of the Leach drivers at the bottom of the point system with their potential incredible stat lines for the 2, 3, 5 races that they can run. And then above them will be all of the full-time drivers, so that'll be in a nice line. Except, of course, if you're a full-time driver and you don't get a single top 20 somehow, you will see yourself at the bottom of the points with those Leach drivers. But so that's all I've really got here. As you can see, we've still got 13 trucks in the lead pack, along with the 6 and the 76, who are a lap down. As we look back towards 14th place, There's now a bit of a pack here in the form of Tib Foster, Roberto Crown Jr., Aiden Smith, Lane Sanders, Bradley Ream, Alexa Luchon, and Brett Houck. And to the point of top 20 getting points, everyone that is decently up to speed has a chance to score at least 1 point right now. You can see from Luchon in 20th, or well, now Brett Houck in 20th. JD Martin is on the verge of going a lap down. So these drivers have been able to run at about a second or two off the pace of the leaders. You can see they're all running about 46-second lap times, while the leaders run 44.2s to 44.5s. As they work to get around JD Martin, Luke Martin, his team owner, will take the race lead in the process. But it looks like everyone that is up to speed will earn points here tonight, and if those drivers in that second pack can get a caution, they might be able to spice it up just a little bit. I'm not sure if any of them can keep up with the lead draft, because they were in the lead draft for a moment and then they were separated. But if any of these 13 drivers loses this pack, they will have a pack to fall back to that they can probably lead with a little worry. As the pack continues to log laps as we draw closer to the final round of pit stops, we're hearing we should expect drivers to come in anywhere from lap 78 to 84, with the different lines drivers have taken, running the middle, running the top, running the bottom. Luke Martin has looked very strong here in this pack. He just lost the lead though to Shade Eves, who's got help from a Mitsubishi alliance partner in the 6 of Jordan Fisher, who is a lap down. We've got 2 new manufacturers in the Napa Truck Series this season, Mitsubishi and Honda. One of those Hondas is here in the lead pack with a potential chance to win this race. That's the 84 of Griffin Lapel McDermott. As Shade Eves, though, leads the field. Looking at the drivers in this pack, you've got to make note of who was in the accident and who wasn't. Shade Eves managed to get through clean and okay. Luke Martin we saw go for a spin, but he appears to be fine, as does Bradley Bishop Jr. I believe Nick Breeding got a little tap to one of his doors, as did Blake Warren. Justin Johnson, though, he is clean and good to go. Edward Siemba and Bob Burns also were spun out at the back of the field with the 28 of Luke Martin. Ben McDonald, we know his truck's clean. But you can see Griffin Label McDermott and Nelson Reeves, who I believe got a tiny piece of that accident as well. Those two have mostly been at the back of this pack the entire run. So they have just kind of been doing their best to have a shot at a top 10 finish here with the way this race has gone. But you can see Luke Martin lost the lead there for about a lap or two, but was able to go right back to the front from the middle line. And with 30 laps to go, pit stops are about 10 laps away. Pit stops are closing in as you see Ricky Freeman Jr. and Austin Rogers get caught. They'll be going 2 laps down here. You can see the 56 of Carson Clevenger is 3 laps down. He's the only driver that many laps down, as now Freeman and Rogers go 2 laps down. You can see ahead of them the lap trucks that also have damage have really gotten gathered up, with the exception of those 2 we just saw go 2 down. Jeff Bolton, Carson Clevenger, Blaze McKinney, all lined up here in this pack. Alexa Luchon has actually lost touch with her main pack, as she is trying to go by Ace Wild, who is not for position. JD Martin also up here in this group, a lap down in 23rd. And you've got Aiden Smith, Lane Sanders, Bradley Ream, Tib Foster, Roberto Crown Jr., and Brett Houck all singled out here, as Shade Eves is going to be the one to go to the way back here, getting held up by the 82 and the 92. Him and Jordan Fisher both held up tremendously by these lap trucks. And now they're going to have their work cut out for them getting back to the lead pack. But it's AJ Jones in the lead. Pit stops we're hearing are about to begin. So we'll take one more cut away, and we'll be back to see these pit stops start popping off. Pit stops have begun. You see Blaze McKinney coming out of pit road here. Will merge in front of the 12 of Bradley Ream. As the leaders race down the back straightaway, we're hearing that some drivers from this pack are going to be coming down this time by. It's AJ Jones and Luke Martin side by side going for the lead. Now the question will be here is how many of these drivers will remain in the lead pack, as you see Shade Eves, Blake Warren, Nelson Reeves, and Justin Johnson drop down for pit road. The longer you can stay out, the less fuel you'll have to take to make it to the end of the race. So the pack goes from 13 lead lap trucks down to 9. Jordan Fisher, Gatlin Downey still in this pack, making it 11. Remember, the 6 pit first lap after the restart, and the 76 pit the lap after that. So those two are expected to go a lap or two longer than the leaders. As this time by, coming to 20 to go, Luke Martin and Hannah Allen will drop the pit road. You see, we're not really seeing anyone get held up by drivers dropping the pit road. In the past, we've seen that happen at Daytona, Talladega, and Pensacola, where if trucks go to pit, some of the ones on the track freak out a little bit. Sometimes drivers aren't sure if people are pitting in front of them, and they check up, and at times that separates the pack. But there are so few trucks here in this lead pack that the drivers are not doing that. So it's going to be very curious to see how the drivers come out of pit road, the time they save on pit stops. We're hearing right now that the first drivers who pit, their stops were about 8 seconds or so. And here we go. Nick Breeding, Bob Burns, Ben McDonald, and Griffin Label McDermott all come down the pit road. And out of lead lap trucks, that leaves AJ Jones, Bradley Bishop Jr., and Edward Ciemba. So those were the last 3. These are the last 3 that need to pit. And they're catching Justin Johnson, Nelson Reeves, Blake Warren, and others. And I think Bradley Bishop Jr. might be running out of gas. Yeah, he's sputtering at 187 miles an hour. Oh, he is barely going to make it back to pit road here, but he's losing a ton of time. The same is happening with Ciemba. They will come to pit road. AJ Jones in behind Ace Wild. Ciemba will be able to get it right to the line, as will BBJ. Unfortunately for the 88, his pit stall is up here near the front of pit road, or the rear, I should say. Ciemba in as well. That was the rest of the leaders. Let's see how drivers are making out coming out of pit road. And Nick Breeding is clear and in the lead right now, but he is gone. He'll be a sitting duck. Bob Burns, Griffin Lapel McDermott, and Ben McDonald, the next 3 out, just in front of Luke Martin and Hannah Allen, who came out in front of those that pit first. And we're hearing all these pit stops are around the same time. So it's really showing the talent of these drivers to get on the pit road and off as fast as they can. You see Shade Eves, Justin Johnson, and Nelson Reeves filed in line here along with Blake Warren. As now Jordan Fisher is currently back on the lead lap, racing for position. If there was a time for a caution to come out, he would want it to be now so that he doesn't have to restart at the tail. And there you see Bradley Bishop Jr. is actually going to come out right behind Nick Breeding, despite running out of gas going into pit road. And that is incredible. Same with Edward Ciemba, just in front of the 55, as AJ Jones is your race leader. AJ will put Ace Wild 2 laps down here, as Wild in the way of Brett Houck's going to hold up the 15. Gatlin Downey has pit again, so we should see him come out of pit road soon. As everyone is trying to find the way around the lappers as quickly as possible. You can see Breeding up here, JD Martin, who's a lap down, Ciemba, So BBJ Siemba trying to file in line behind Breeding, as Jordan Fisher will not get the caution he needs and will come to pit road here at 16 laps to go. So everyone is chasing AJ Jones, and it's a big run from Nick Breeding in that turned up 55 Toyota. You can see Brett Houck is now a lap down as well after being separated from his group on the pit stop cycle. As we are down, we'll be down to 19 drivers on the lead lap. And it's a pretty big pack right now. We'll see the leaders catch those other drivers that are still barely on the lead lap. Tib Foster, Bradley Ream, Roberto Crown Jr., and Aiden Smith. Actually, Gatlin Downey has not pit yet. He is just by himself. He was held up by Bradley Bishop Jr. running out of fuel. So Fisher will come out of pit road. He is still currently on the lead lap, but just barely. As Bob Burns is leading the way here at 15 laps to go, but Luke Martin is right behind him. And I'm surprised to say that all 13 trucks that were in the lead pack, they pit on 4 different laps in split groups, and they are still all together fighting for this race win. With 14 laps to go, it's just about anybody's race, but I think the outside line is really going to be king here, because on this recent green flag cycle, everyone took 2 tires or no tires, and that is going to make it very difficult to pass on the inside line. Tough luck for Bob Burns as they catch the lap pack at the start-finish line. Burns will get stuck behind Ricky Freeman Jr., and he is going to go backwards, as taking the race lead is the 08 of Justin Johnson. But now Justin Johnson to the outside of Tip Foster, Bradley Bishop Jr., Luke Martin, Ben McDonald, and Nelson Reeves, the top 5, as we'll come to 12 laps to go. What would it mean for EZ Racing to capture a checkered flag with the 08 driven by Justin Johnson? It would be the first win for Toyota, not from an Onge Auto truck. Toyota with 18 wins in the Napa Truck Series, all from Onge Auto. What would it mean for Toyota if Justin Johnson can pull this off? And Justin Johnson, in what is his 33rd career start, it would be his first career win. But he's going to have to fend off Bradley Bishop Jr., Luke Martin, and several other drivers if he wants to get that done. Bradley Bishop Jr. will go to the race lead. In 33 starts, Justin Johnson, 8 top 10 finishes to his career. Four of those top 10s were top 5s. He is behind Jordan Fisher. They are trying to make that outside line work as Nick Breeding leads the way. Breeding, the defending Hardee's champion, looking to become another driver to get 3 wins in the Napa Truck Series. If he were to do it, he'd be the 7th driver to reach the mark in series history. Bradley Bishop Jr., though, will clear him for the race lead for now, but you've got other names in here looking for their first career wins. Nelson Reeves is one of those drivers there for Team Velocity, and we saw Team Velocity get a win at Talladega last season with Kyle Vaughters. Ooh, are they going to go 4 wide? I think they were thinking about it. 9 laps to go at the start-finish line. It's Breeding versus BBJ. Breeding versus one of his team drivers. And you know Breeding ain't going to slouch over for BBJ. He wants to win just as much as anybody else. As now you see Reeves, Siemba, Ben McDonald lined up on the bottom. Roberto Crown Jr., who is a lap down, is in line with them. How will the lap trucks play a factor in deciding the winner of this race? Will they play a factor at all? Right now you've got Fisher leading the top. That is preventing Justin Johnson, Hannah Allen from leading that line. You got Aiden Smith a lap down at the back of this pack. 13 trucks on the lead lap. And then several a lap down in this pack makes this pack about 20 trucks strong now. How are we looking for lap traffic? Jeff Bolton and Gatlin Downey are leaving turn 4 as these trucks go down the back straightaway. And Bradley Bishop Jr. with a really good run down into turn 3. This is BBJ's 8th career start in the Napa Truck Series. And what's crazy to say is through the first 7, only two laps led for BBJ entering this race. That stat number has definitely gone up here at the end of this thing. 3 top 10 finishes, 1 top 5 being the win at Road 1 last season. And they are 4 wide there. Almost contact between Luke Martin and Justin Johnson. Now Martin 4 wide with Burns, Reeves, and AJ Jones. 4 wide action at the front of the field with 6 laps to go. And they'll settle it out. Luke Martin is charging on that middle line. It's Fisher leading the pack, who is just a lap down now as BBJ goes back by on the outside line. We got a nice backstretch shot there with nobody to look at. It'll be 5 laps to go here at the start-finish line. It's anyone's race. But that top side is really starting to come in. You can just see the runs through the tri-oval for Bradley Bishop Jr. It is going to be hard to pass him on the inside line. You're going to have a really good run and probably do something on the middle. Justin Johnson, Breeding, AJ Jones lined up on the outside line. Luke Martin in the middle with Jordan Fisher in front. Burns, Shade Eves behind. Reeves, Siemba, Blake Warren on the bottom. Can't seem to do much of anything. BBJ stuck in the middle. Justin Johnson went to his outside. Now Breeding goes to the middle. Bishop being forced to control the lines. Remember, you can see the contig there just a little bit. That blue rectangle on the right corner of the spoiler. Control your season. That's right, you got to control your season here in the Napa Truck Series. And here at Daytona, it's really in the driver's hands for sure. And the spotter is playing a big role as well, telling the driver where to go, what lines to block. As they come to 3 to go, BBJ is pushing the 6 of Fisher, who is a lap down, as Luke Martin is on the inside in the race lead. You can see the big run the outside line got there. Fisher's going to clear the leaders as Ricky Freeman Jr., Ace Wild, they're up here. This could get interesting. They are catching lap traffic. Worth noting, but 13 laps ago, Carson Clevenger was told to park. He was not making minimum speed any longer. And he was already running in 29th place. It'll be 2 laps to go in the Daytona 250 here at the start-finish line. It looks like it could come down to Luke Martin and Bradley Bishop Jr., but Nick Breeding, Nelson Reeves, they are right there with an opportunity to strike. But Jordan Fisher, he's playing the biggest role of everyone here. He is a lap down. He is not fighting for this race win. You can see a big run there for the outside line. Fisher's going to drop to the middle. Looking to help his team owner, Luke Martin, beat the 88 of Bradley Bishop Jr. Nelson Reeves right there in line on the bottom. White flag in the air. A huge run for BBJ off of turn 4. Fisher will be in the middle as Luke Martin is on the inside line. Not sure if that's the line Luke wants to be in here going into turn 1. Martin creeping up the track, maybe trying to get into the middle line here. They are catching Ricky Freeman Jr. Gonna be curious to see if the leader gets any wake off the lap truck. But a big run down the back straightaway, big push from Justin Johnson and AJ Jones goes to Bradley Bishop Jr. Through turn 4. Can Luke Martin do anything? He doesn't have the momentum. And for the 3rd year in a row, a Breeding Enterprises truck will win the season opening race. This time it's the 88, driven by Bradley Bishop Jr. Second time in series history, the 88 has won the season opening race, both times as a Breeding Enterprises truck or car. Go back to 2019 when the series all began at Talladega. As the Napa Pro Series, it was Nick Breeding driving an 88 car going to victory lane. What a race here to open off the season. Bradley Bishop Jr. with his 2nd career Napa Truck Series win gets it done over the 2021 champion Luke Martin. I think these two are going to be fighting for wins all season long, especially with the 6 of Jordan Fisher. And sadly, Fisher was not up there fighting for the win since due to their pit strategy, they were a lap down. You see them finishing 14th, so still a good point stay for, or well, a decent point stay for that team. But you got to get top 20s, but especially all the points are in the top 3 on the podium. Justin Johnson finishing in 3rd place tonight gets his team 22 points. And for a team such as Easy Racing, those 22 points could have them be a top 30 locked-in truck after these next 3 races at Dubai, Homestead, and the Nashville Fairgrounds. AJ Jones in 4th. Great start to his season. He is likely a title threat here in 2023. Nelson Reeves, top 5 run in his first race with Team Velocity. And I believe that was his first career top 5, if I am not mistaken. Prior to this race, Nelson, I don't even think Nelson has a top 10 in his career. So, yes, indeed, I believe that is correct. We'll know for sure once the race is over, or well, the recording is over. Revolution Racing, 6th place in their first race with Mitsubishi. They get a top 10 out of this. That's going to be great for their season. They are currently in go or go home territory to start the year. How about the 55 driven by Nick Breeding this week? That truck's going to be a real question mark as the season goes on, a real week-to-week type deal. But if they are to continue, they will be in great spot here to make some races. Edward Siemba, Bob Burns, Ben McDonnell rounding out the top 10. So how about that for Ben McDonnell? First career start, first career top 10. And then the last 3 drivers out of that pack were Hannah Allen, Griffin Leeple, McDermott, and Blake Warren, which all 3 of those I want to say had some kind of aerodynamic damage that really hindered them in the draft. Once again, Jordan Fisher 14th, then Brett Houck 15th, Aiden Smith 16th, Roberto Crown Jr. in 17th, Alexa Lushon 18th, Bradley Ream 19th, and Lane Sanders will round out the top 20 in that part-time 17 truck. That's probably gonna be a very crucial point for the 17. Lane is in that truck for 3 races. Tonight's race, Talladega, and then New Zealand. We'll see William Brock in the 17 early on this year at Homestead, and then later in the summer at Kansas. So that's going to be a crucial point for that 17 truck. Well, that's all I've got for y'all tonight here at Daytona. I think the first Daytona 250 here was a success. Bradley Bishop Jr., your winner. Breeding Enterprises, 3 years in a row, 3 different trucks, the 8 in 2021, the 48 in 2022, and now the 88 here in 2023. All 3 breeding trucks have now won at this track, Daytona. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks for Dubai, where we have our first road course race of the season. And this time in 2023, we will be joined by the Hardee's National Series and the Sony Cup Series. So with that said and done, here are your full race results and burnout by your winner, Bradley Bishop Jr. We'll see y'all next time.